going to the chapel and we're gonna get buried. Sorry, no one should have been subjected to me singing. All right, so we're headed from the manor of the Burgomeister, and the home of Irina and Ismark. And we're carrying the body of the Burgomaster up to the chapel. E5 and E6, it's chapel in the cemetery. Sounds peaceful, right? Now, not to be too much of a gamer about it, but the thing is, I'm pretty sure the only way to get XP in the game is to make and complete vows. Free all of Barovia from Strahd is epic and everything, but it's not going to be meat on the table anytime soon, if ever complete it. I need to keep doing small things, keep doing side quests, if you like. So, a troublesome vow to bury the Burgomaster. On the one hand, you have to carry him all the way across town. What a big tough adventurer you are. But on the other hand, the job is exactly as tough as I choose to make it. I can sort of lead over pretty much everything else that happens in town and just get to the road up to the castle in about a paragraph. I could just jump from there to, Strahd. But I don't learn or gain anything on that, so why not have some fun with it? So I'm going to swear an iron vow to, bury the Burgomaster. Swear an iron vow when you swear upon iron to complete a quest. Write your vow and give the quest a rank. Then roll plus heart. If you make this vow to a person or community with whom you share a bond, you get to add +1. So, which is good. My goal is clear. All right. And my roll is good, which is great. I get a strong hit. My goal is clear. No complications like, we can't bury him here, it's not hallowed ground anymore, or anything like that. And, +2 momentum brings me to a max of 10 right now, so yay. So I envision myself and Ismark walking slowly up the street towards the church on either end of a bier. Irina flanks us, looking pensive, but resolved. There's two up there. There we go. Brother and sister. Doing their thing. Since this is actually attached to a vow, I need to make some kind of progress here. Some sort, overcome certain challenges. That means challenges. First thing I can imagine is the possibility of more interference from the village. Either more superstitious, angry villagers. They wouldn't help bury their Burgomaster in the first place. Maybe they don't want to see him buried at all for fear that it's going to make Strahd angry. Maybe some Vistani. Maybe something worse. We'll see. To reflect that, I'm going to face danger, which is Ironsworn's sort of catch-all move for I'm doing something generally risky for which there is not a better, more specific move. And I'm going to face danger using heart because this is my loyalty and my courage as we carry this dead man through town in front of pretty much everybody. The move looks like this. There you go. I mean, the argument's been made that in a lot of the Powered by the Apocalypse games, you could basically play the entire game with face danger or the equivalent of face danger and one other move for rituals, and you're pretty much good to go for long, something to handle long projects and something for face danger. I suppose probably that's probably true. Certainly one as flexible as this where you can use pretty much any stat. That's great. Anyway, let's see what I get. Right, so that's I'm feeling pretty good about that. The challenge was strong, 8 and a 5. But I overcame. At this point, I had been pondering moving Brigida's stats to the challenging stat array. There's a particular stat array that you can default to in Ironsworn where you get a 3 in your best stat. Your next 2 good stats are 2s, and your last 2 good stats, your last 2 stats are 1s. What they've suggested for solo play, if you don't want to be frustrated a lot, is to switch that to 4 for your best stat, 2 3s, and 2 2s. So it really hasn't made that much of a difference. A much bigger difference for me would be if Secure and Advantage gets better. That would be the difference that would make the whole game a lot more approachable at the solo level. So anyway, I haven't switched that array. I'm still working with 3 2 2 1 1. Anyway, so I mark three boxes on this vow to bury the Burgomaster. But other than that, the benefits to me are kind of slim because the momentum that I get from it, I'm already maxed out. Atop a slight rise from the town stands a gray, sagging edifice of stone and wood. This church has weathered the assaults of evil for centuries on end and is worn and weary. The bell tower hangs to one side. Its strident call has long since been silenced. Flickering lights shine through holes burned through the roof shingles. The rafters strain to maintain their burden. The church is Interior is a shambles with overturned and broken benches littering the floor. And at a claw-scarred altar toward the far end stands a priest. There's Donovich. Now, Donovich has apparently been praying and chanting throughout the night for weeks. He spends each night, every night, warding off evil from his church, and he has fallen asleep at his altar. So I need some information from this guy on several topics. I'm going to gather information with a +1 for the community bond and basically play it from there. It's kind of funny that I mentioned this. So as soon as I say, I've never had a situation where having one more point in the stats would have made a difference, this happens. So I rolled a 1, basically. +2 for my wits gets me to a 3, and +1 from the community bond gets me to a 4. The challenge dice were a 4 and a 6. I didn't beat even one of the dice, but I have a momentum of 10, which means if I burn my momentum, well, we'll get to that in a second. So my dice are saying maybe I should change my stat array, whatever. I don't want to snag the story at this point on this guy, so I'm going to burn my momentum to get a strong hit instead of a match. So what burning momentum does, this is the first opportunity we've had a chance to talk about this. What burning momentum does is it lets you cancel out any of the challenge dice that are lower than your current momentum. So it's worth noting that the highest your momentum can go is 10. The highest the dice can roll in the challenge dice is a 10. So you can't get rid of 10 on the challenge dice. If the challenge dice are 10s, doesn't matter how much momentum you got, you're stuck with it. But if you have a lot of momentum, it can make a big difference because it cancels out those dice. And that's a little bit different than you beat them. All you can do is get rid of those dice. So momentum, going to burn that. To give myself, it still gives me a strong hit, which is great. And I want to keep moving on this thing, so I'm going to gather information. So there we go. I imagine him not being too enthused about our plans. It takes a lot of energy to convince him to help us out and all, and thus be involved. So it kills my momentum, right? Knocks my momentum back down to a 2. So I search an area, ask questions, I conduct an investigation. On a strong hit, which is what I got, you discover something helpful and specific. The path you must follow or an action you must take to make progress is made clear. Envision what you learn and take +2 momentum. So once I wake him up and introductions are made, his voice is hoarse and weak. Our intentions are explained and our will is convincingly conveyed until he finally stops trying to talk us out of this madness. He shares the following information. 1, there is a book in Ravenloft's library, Castle Ravenloft's library. At least it was held there at one time. That might help destroy the Devil Strahd. It is well known from ancient times that Strahd kept meticulous notes on all that he did, everything he said. Perhaps some weakness of his may be found there. The Burgomaster's holy symbol, the one that was stolen a couple weeks ago, he certainly doesn't have it. But he was shown it a number of times, a golden disc with a stylized sun design. It is an ancient thing from distant lands. No one even knows how it came to be this far north. It's possible the book of history he mentioned will explain such things. He seems a bit fixated on the idea of the thing. Probably the thing he's least enthused about, except for the idea that we're going to storm this monster's castle, is burying the Burgomaster while night is coming on. I'm going to try a fairly gentle compel with heart. I'm going to charm, pacify, banter, just convince him, right? And compel gives me, well, we'll see how the compel works. Let's look at what the compel is. Okay. I like that strong hit. On a strong hit, they'll do what you want and share what they know. Take +1 momentum. If you use this exchange to gather information, make that move now and add +1. So at this point in time, I should be up at momentum of 5. Thanks to these 2 rolls. After burning, I still get a +2 from the gather information, and I get a +1 momentum from the useful compel. The moon's rising, he says. I've never minded the moon, I reply. He eyes the door leading to the churchyard, shaking his head fretfully with his hands trembling. I lay a hand on his shoulder. Don't trouble yourself about this, Brother Donovich, I say. I know the words to say well enough, and I'm sure Irina and Ismark know the way to the family plot. Have you proper tools for the task? I only have a camp shovel. Now, maybe it's the idea that I'm letting him shirk his duty to the village. Maybe it's asking for the tools. Maybe it's just the pity in my eyes, but the firmness comes back into his eyes and his jaw. No, I mean, yes, they're in the caretaker's shed, but no, I'll come with you. Let me get my things. Let it be done correctly and well and bravely for a brave man. So I'm going to call that another milestone on this troublesome vow. It occurs to me that getting to gather information from him might have counted towards burying the Burgomaster, but whatever. It doesn't really matter. I'm up to a 6, and it's fine. Gathering information, I haven't been very good about ticking some of this stuff, because this gather information about everything, that probably should have ticked something on several quests I have going on toward the castle. I should have learned some things. So, little footnote there. I really should have taken a few more advances here that I'm not really giving myself credit for. Most of these skill checks should be giving me some sort of movement forward. In any case, I got my compel. That's another milestone on my troublesome vow. That means I've ticked off 6 boxes towards completing this quest for burying the Burgomaster. Finally, and quite simply, I'm going to face danger with strength and endurance, so plus iron, because while digging the grave and putting the Burgomaster to rest, it's a big physical effort, and I'm doing all the work. The day is passing, the moon is rising, and things might happen. So let's see how that goes. Okay, facing danger, got a weak hit, face a troublesome cost. Choose one. You are delayed, lose advantage, or face a new danger, lose advantage, or face a new danger, suffer -1 momentum. You are tired or hurt, you can endure harm, 1 harm. You are dispirited or afraid, endure 1 stress. You sacrifice resources, you suffer -1 supply. I'm going to go with enduring stress. My following endure stress roll is another weak hit, which effectively does nothing. I soldier on. So here's how this works. Whenever you get hit, whether you take stress or a physical hit, when you take harm, you first take the damage, and you have a 5-point track for harm and a 5-point track for stress. You first take the damage, and that lowers your number. And then you make the move either endure harm or endure stress. You can either roll a stat or the actual harm or stress track, whichever one is higher. So if I've taken a 1-point hit to my harm is now down at a 4. I can either, to resist, sort of endure that harm, I can either roll and add 4 harm, or I can roll and add my iron, which is a 2. Now, obviously, I'm going to roll the harm because it's higher. But as your harm gets lower, there's a point at which your stats will protect you better than your harm will. So in this case, what I'm doing is I'm rolling and I endure stress. I roll and add my 4 stress. I get a weak hit, which essentially means I take the damage I meant to take, I was going to take, but it isn't any worse than I thought it was going to be. It's just stressful. If you roll a strong hit, what it lets you do is you can actually trade a point of momentum for a point of stress. So it can be a very temporary thing where you take a little bit of stress and then it comes right back at the cost of a little bit of momentum. I didn't end up doing that. So my stress is down by 1. That's fine. I just soldier on, feeling a little bit down. Here's what happens to cause the stress. As we conclude the burial ceremony, I see something terrible and unexpected. The moon has risen, and its light catches the faint outlines of people, an assemblage fading in and out of view at the gates of the graveyard. They seem to be waiting, either calmly or resigned. Donovich sees the direction of my stare, though he does not look himself. They do this every night, murmurs the priest. Almost 100 souls. They assemble, and then, at midnight, they walk the road that leads to the castle. That's terrible, I mumble. But what is more terrible is that I recognize one of them. So, we talked with the village priest, we buried the Burgomaster, which is about when we noticed the ghost gathering at the graveyard gate, and I realized that I know one of them. Specifically, it is the spirit of Reinhardt, my old mentor. Dealing a little bit of Overwatch art for this. So, Brigitte wants to approach Reinhardt. Brigitte also does not want to approach Reinhardt. The first thing I'm going to do is face danger. I think there's a chance I simply can't bear to approach my old mentor. But no. This is interesting and unexpected. I'm not sure what opportunity to open up here, and the oracles are not particularly helpful for me at this time. What's interesting about this, I want to note the little red boxes. This means that I rolled absolutely all 1s on everything. Both the challenge dice were 1s, and so was my action dice. That was a 6, plus 3 for my heart gives me a 4, and I get a +1 because Reinhardt is somebody I have a bond with. So even though it's a 5, it's still me rolling the lowest possible roll I could get. So I rolled all 1s on this. I'll take it. Reinhardt turns as I approach, and his vacant, waiting expression vanishes, replaced with a broad, albeit a bit sad, smile. I cannot help but return that smile, as always, though my eyes are damp. Reinhardt, uncle, what happened? Okay, so I'm going to try to gather information. I'm not sure how much it can help. I don't even know if the spirit can talk, but, whatever. Well, that's not great. My godfather's smile immediately falls away. It's worse than before. He's not just waiting, he's vacant. His face is twisted in mourning as he remembers something that no one should have to remember, the moment that they fell. So I need to pay the price here, and I think Reinhardt's spirit is in trouble here because of what I ask him, so I'm going to test our bond, because things between us can go badly here. I mean, well, worse. They're already bad. Test your bond is a new one, so let's talk about this one real quick. When your bond is tested through conflict, betrayal, or circumstance, roll plus heart. On a strong hit, this test has strengthened your bond. Choose one. You can either take +1 spirit or +2 momentum. On a weak hit, your bond is fragile and you must prove your loyalty. So let's see what we get here. Phew. Okay. Thank goodness. No, Uncle. I reach out unthinking and my hand passes through his shoulder, but somehow it gets his attention. He turns back to me. He is still sad, but he is not lost, and his hand rises to his chest, to his armor, and he taps the space over his heart. Eyes streaming, I do the same, and I feel renewed. I'm taking the +1 spirit from this exchange because it feels good to have that recover as a result of this. I haven't learned anything, but the bond with my mentor and my godfather is strong. I'm also going to let this be a milestone on my backstory vow to investigate and avenge the Free Warders, which fully ticks the first box on that track. Okay, so obviously I'm going to be following the ghosts up the road at midnight. It's a fantastic idea. Yeah, let's go up to the vampire's castle right at midnight following a crowd of ghosts. I don't know what could go wrong there. In the meantime, let's wrap up that vow to bury the Burgomaster. I've got 9 progress, so this should be an easy way to get the last XP that I need to get a new asset. Well, son of a bitch. On a miss, your quest is undone. Envision what happens or ask the Oracle and choose one. You can either recommit, clear all but one of the filled progress boxes, and raise the quest's rank by 1 if it's not already epic. Alternately, you give up and just forsake the vow. I'm going to renew this. Oh no, moans Irina, looking over my shoulder as I return to them. Oh, Papa. I turn, following her gaze, and see that the Burgomaster, limed in silver and sunken-eyed, also now stands amongst the restless spirits waiting to walk up to the castle. I will see his spirit at rest, Irina, I promised the woman. I swear it, no matter what it takes. So I clear all but 1 progress and raise the quest up to dangerous. I'm also going to reword it slightly so that it's more accurate to what's been going on, and it looks like this. Dangerous, 1 box, put the Burgomaster's spirit to rest. That kind of sucks. I'm not gonna lie, it's cool, don't get me wrong, but it still sucks. Kind of looking forward to getting that XP. Anyway, okay, it's moonrise and it's hours until we depart. I don't really love the idea of hanging out at the church at the graveyard for the next 4 hours looking at the ghosts just milling around, so we're going to do a bit of prep. And that means I am going to use the Sojourn move. When you spend time in a community seeking assistance, roll plus heart. If you share a bond with the community, add +1. On a strong hit, you and your allies may each choose 2 from within the categories below. On a weak hit, choose 1. If you share a bond, you can choose an additional 1. Cool. Well, that's another 1 on my action dice, but thankfully I got the bond and my heart's good, so it gives me a decent thing. It'll get me by. With my community bond, I still get 2 choices off of the list of possible things I can do. So some of your options are you can clear a wounded debility, which is a condition that you have if your health has been all the way knocked all the way down to 0. You can get rid of the shaken debility if your spirit is zeroed out. You can get rid of the unequipped debility if your supply has gone down to 0. I don't have to worry about any of that stuff, so I don't have to clear conditions, which is nice. So instead I can focus more on recuperation. I can take +2 health for myself and any of my companions. Specifically my companions, that would be like my sidekicks, which I don't have right now. I can consort, which gives me +2 spirit. I can provision, which gives me +2 supply, and I can plan, which gives me +2 momentum. Alternately, I can provide aid. I can envision what this community needs or what trouble it is facing. If I choose to help, I can swear an iron vow, and I get a +1 on the roll to swear an iron vow if I do that as part of the Sojourn. So that should get me by. With my community bond, I got the 2 choices, of course. I'm definitely going to provision to get my supply back up to 5. And I'm tempted by plan to give me +2 momentum, but instead I'm going to provide aid, and I'm going to make another vow. In this case, I make my way back down to Mad Mary's house, knock on the door, and when the sobbing subsides somewhat, I murmur my vow through the door. And that's a 9 against an 8 and a 5, so that's a strong hit on my swear an iron vow. I write down the vow as a dangerous vow, so 1 step above troublesome, to find Gertruda and get her home. This is pretty good since the strong hit gives me +2 momentum, which gets me back up to 9 after burning it on Donovich. Between that and the resupply, I'm basically maxed out on all my resources, and my momentum is at a +9 as we head out of town towards Strahz Castle. What could go wrong? Why do I even ask questions like that? The climbing moon and the glances of Irina and Ismark eventually get me going despite my reluctance. It's not the fear of the castle that has me dragging my feet, but what I might see among the ghosts, who I might see, more far wardens. Sadly, my fears prove justified, as I see the sad, solemn face of my friend Liqua among the many waiting spirits within the graveyard, and sigils of several other far wardens among the lost souls whose faces I don't recognize. Liqua does not raise her hand or acknowledge me, and when the ghosts begin to walk up the road leading to the castle, she simply joins them, her expression resigned and tired. "Did you know them?" Ismark asked, his expression a mix of confusion and concern, watching both me and Irina, whose eyes are on their father's faded form. "Yes," I say. "Old friends of mine, or family, or both." I clear my throat. "But now is not the time for mourning. Do we follow them closely?" I say. "They are no threat to us, and we might learn more of what happened to them." So we follow the spirits, both watching them and trying not to watch those that we know, for a few miles, winding through the sparser woods toward the base of the nearest mountain peak. It is an eerie experience. The ghosts largely take no notice of us. Most don't even seem to see us, but their presence is unnerving, and I find myself touching iron often. We come, somewhat abruptly, to a fork in the road, and that's where we're going to stop.